But it sounds like that's just a person, like Marcus was saying, deflecting and distracting from the fact that they don't have an identity. When you're in a relationship, you have to have your own identity, and that's what shows up, and a lot of people don't. That's why I mentioned codependency. When you don't have an identity and your partner don't have an identity, and we're both just looking for somebody, wow, we're a match, we're soulmates, we're supposed to be together. No, you're not. You just both ain't got nothing to do, and you're just doing it together, right? Like, just
it's such a pleasure to be able to sit with women like yourself, Cree, Tracy Ellis Ross, and then another you mentioned another increasingly amount of women online who are claiming this for themselves. I sat with this sociologist who came up with this term called single at heart, which essentially stated people who, to the point that you made about a love life, right? We have in our North American society a very linear idea of what it means to have a love life. But you can talk to many people who have a very fulfilling romantic love life who still feel very lonely. And I'll raise my hand on that one. I felt very lonely within a nuclear family. And then I had to start asking myself, what happened to my friends? What happened to my family? What happened to going to the grocery store and just talking to people? I was mentioning, I just came back from St. Louis, and I just make it my devotion whenever I'm out of the house to be genuinely with people because I want a love life.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have one of those pieces, I would still consider my life to be filled with love because the intention is there. Just like if I didn't have a romantic partner, I would still consider myself to have a love life. So do you think that there is something to that with more women claiming that they have a love life that is fulfilling and satisfying that doesn't need a partner to it? Is that what you're claiming?
To your point about, our thinking about love lives in a linear fashion, I think that is kind of dissolving that attitude. And people are starting to understand that they are not beholden to strict rules and like boxes and stuff like that. One of my favorite relationships that I had was, it was maybe about a year after my mom passed away, maybe like a year and a half, somewhere in there. We could talk about, shoot, if he was dating somebody else, like he could have that kind of conversation with me. And it did not faze me because I was not looking to make him anything more than who he told me he wanted me to be for him. And I really wasn't looking for anything else because I was still reeling.
Yes.
In
grief.
And it was just perfect. Perfect timing, perfect person, perfect length of time. We're still very good friends. He's in a relationship now. I wish him all the best. He's still one of my favorite people on this planet. Taught me a lot about just how important transparency is and not to be afraid of transparency, because I think that a lot of people are, not exactly, you could be in a relationship with somebody for 20 years and they don't really actually know you.
Yeah.
But there's certain relationships where you see people and you're like, you see that the mask is off with those two.
It's probably a complicated question to answer, but it happened relatively recently because you mentioned after your mom passed. So within the last 5 years, that's when you started this amazing relationship with yourself. Is there a key thing that you switched or a moment you can bring me into that really explains how you did it?
I think two things. In 2022, I was introduced to microdosing psilocybin. I was severely depressed. And, I've been diagnosed with major depressive disorder. And my mom's death really was, it changed me. It was like a meteor hit my world, my earth. And I just wasn't doing very well. And I still had like ideas about antidepressants that I just couldn't do it. I was too scared. And then a couple of friends talked to me about microdosing and I was a little intimidated by it, but I started, doing that with therapy and that really worked. So that would be one thing. And then just through intense therapy as years went on, my sense of dignity, my sense of dignity grew. I've never really thought much about it. I never used the word to describe myself. I'm very articulate, as Canadian girls, but I've used many words to describe myself, but I've never used the word dignity. And it was when my dignity was challenged that I realized that how important it was and how fiercely I need to guard it. Because in dignity, you find self-love. You find it right there. That is where you are like mama bear for yourself, mama bear for the inner child. Now I stand tall. I stand tall with my feet firmly planted on the ground and just know exactly who I am. And there's nothing anyone can tell me anymore about who they think I am.
No, I can see why she's single. She said a lot of nothing. She's like, in my opinion, she's kind of cursed with the whole being beautiful and people giving her more chances than she probably deserves. It seems like there's a lot of lacking development in some way that she was articulating herself. And that's actually very common with what I believe women that don't have to earn how to arrive in the world and actually build relationships. Like, people just give you a pass because you're relatively visually appeasing. She's a woman and she's a fairly attractive woman. If you can't maintain a relationship or relationships, I think there's something just terribly broken, like, inside of you, and it's concerning. But after hearing her speak, she seems very disheveled. Like, she's here and then she's here, then she's here. I don't know where her center of gravity lies. She doesn't seem to have any real like presence of sorts. And this is the same tone she's had for years. So I don't know how long it's been since she's lost her mother, but she's been sounding like this for years. She just seems that she's very delusional on a very toxic level. That's what I heard for her speaking.
Is choosing to stay single a healthy lifestyle choice or a defense against past relationship trauma?
For men or women?
You can do both.
For women, probably not. But I think for men more so, yeah.
I don't know. I think it's for both. Like, well, you say, is it a defense for? Can you repeat the question?
I'll do the question again. Is choosing to stay single a healthy lifestyle choice or a defense against past relationship trauma?
And by healthy lifestyle choice, you mean like people would just all the time be better off single? Certain people that they should just stay single for life.
It's just, yeah, that's what they choose to do. I'm healthy. I'm healed. I'm focused on self. Is that a healthy lifestyle choice?
I think the idea that is healthy, but I don't think. I really feel like a lot of times people do that work and talk about that work as the stand-in for the relationship. Like, I think you should do the work, right? I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I think you should work on yourself and be the best you can be. But a lot of times it seems like when people are talking about how they're working on themselves, it's just to say, I don't have a relationship, but I don't want to, or I'm taking some accountability and figuring out the things that I did wrong. But at some point, that work, if it's actually being done for the purpose of having a relationship, should like have some type of prospects or something moving forward. It shouldn't just be 40 years of you doing the work and loving yourself. Like I've seen people start marrying themselves. Like, have you seen like the clips of the people that married themselves or married their dog or marrying their best friend just so they can say they have somebody? Like, come on, like, this shit crazy.
But y'all don't think that if someone is at peace with themselves, right, you don't think that could be they can still live a healthy lifestyle by themselves?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was saying it. Yeah, I think they absolutely can live a healthy lifestyle. I'm saying that when people a lot of times say that, that's the stand-in sentence for, hey, how's the family doing? Oh, I'm at peace with myself. I'm just loving me right now. Hey, do you have a man? No, I'm at peace with myself. I'm just working on me right now. Hey, are you going to get married? I don't need nobody right now because I'm just trying to make sure I'm centered in where I need to be and growing. Hey, then they might throw in business and something like that. But it's usually a deflection from that specific conversation. Are there people who absolutely don't want nobody and want to be single for the rest of their life? I guess they exist. But I think that's a very, 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 very small minority of people. And I think that that's a stand-in for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you, Marcus. Because I'm gonna be honest, when people say that they are focusing on themselves, it's typically directly after a breakup or relationship. Like, that's like the go-to response as soon as it happens, within like 3 to 4 months. When I hear them saying it afterwards, I see a lot of women that I know, and on social media, like, they'll put all these things that's out there, but when you have conversations with them, like, they're miserable. I think at one point in time, a lot of people desire to be with someone, and the older you get, the more miles of damage that you accumulate. And if you've been actively dating for the past 7 years and you're still single after that 7 years, there's some trauma there. And so I think it's easier at that point, and we got a lot of things that's happening on social media, a lot of things being said, and people are actually starting to believe that because it's becoming their reality. And so they'll just say, I'd just rather be about myself. And I also see them transitioning into like the crystals, and they start having these different type of conversations, and yeah, it just goes really deep in where they start to look at life moving forward. Like they're not the same. And
I think that
it's kind of weird, and I can't really place my finger on it because I'm not in that space in my head. But when I see them, it's just like, oh yeah, they've been through a lot. I can tell. Like they are on a healing journey, and they have started searching in other places that normal folks don't typically look. But it's like they don't have no choice because this is what's left that's out there.
But it sounds like that's just a person, like Marcus was saying, deflecting and distracting from the fact that they don't have an identity. When you're in a relationship, you have to have your own identity, and that's what shows up. And a lot of people don't. That's why I mentioned codependency. When you don't have an identity and your partner don't have an identity, and we're both just looking for somebody, wow, we're a match, we're soulmates, we're supposed to be getting. No, you're not. You just both ain't got nothing to do, and you're just doing it together, right? Like just stop it. let's so I think a lot of the times people find also that relationships reflect that they're lacking self-actualization, or they reach self-actualization and they really understand I'm not a good person, or I've really been doing people dirty out here, or I've been allowing myself to get done dirty because I don't have self-efficacy, I don't have self-worth, I don't have that confidence. I'm scared of being by myself, so I'll accept anything from anybody, right? So a lot of us confuse attention with intention. We confuse codependency with loyalty, right? And that's why we end up having these back and forths, these traumas, because you won't admit, like I said before, maybe I shouldn't have been in a relationship. Maybe I should have took that healing. Some people try to heal while they're in a relationship. Knock it off. Knock it off. Some people think that every man and woman are supposed to have sexual relationships, and you don't have any friends. You don't even know how to talk to people. Like everything shouldn't end in sex. Some people just come into your life to make you better, to have conversations, to help you grow, not to sleep with you and leave you. I just think we have a misinterpretation on relationships and what they mean, particularly with the opposite sex. I want to go back to what they were speaking in the video, when you feel like you can have a fulfilling relationship and still have a loss of self, or something's missing. I think that comes from our loss of our sense of community. Like there's a lack of brotherhood, there's a lack of sisterhood, there's a lack of unity that we have, right? We used to have a time when we could have our doors unlocked. Better not do that now, right? There used to be a time where you knew your neighbors, don't know them now. Used to be a time where you could let your kids go outside and go all around the neighborhood till the street lights came on. Everybody knew what they was doing. They were scared to do things because Miss Ethan, whoever was gonna say something, right? You don't have that anymore. And that absence, our spirits still crave that. So we may not always be able to verbalize what we feel, but that's one of those things that's shaking in our community. Again, I don't want to hijack the meeting. I'm gonna land my plane. Do your work before you try to be with somebody else. I land.